Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Ken Biberaj, and welcome to Coffee with Ken, a thought leadership series at the nexus of business, politics, and today, artificial intelligence. We are so grateful to Chris Cantor and the AWS Skills Center here in Arlington in Northern Virginia for hosting this conversation, and for all of you for being here. Pretty incredible what you guys have created with this network and kind of getting together. Over 130 people signed up for an evening conversation. You guys are all coming from industry because you're curious, you want to learn more. And I think we're really grateful and excited that Jason Palmer could be here to kind of help guide the conversation and take us through it. So like Chris, I've known Jason for a long time, and we've constantly been trying to find the right conversation. Should it be something political, on education, on entrepreneurship? And then this idea of revolving it around AI came up, and it felt like the perfect opportunity for us to have a Coffee with Ken conversation and to welcome Jason. So It's so good to see you. Our underlying theme today is future builders. So first, cheers. And,
cheers,
and good to see you.
Great to see you too.
So you did a little demo before we got started today. Why don't you tell us what you took people through and what you noticed?
Yeah, well, this is an audience that's full of some entrepreneurs, no students. Nobody was willing to choose students. So entrepreneurs, builders, developers. A couple of you checked AI users, which I think in the future you are developers. But I'm guessing most people are here because they said they wanted to do networking and they wanted to learn about how to build companies. I've been investing in companies for about 20 years, mostly in education technology, but now spreading across climate tech, systems tech, AI-specific companies, and it's been kind of the love of my life to create companies and invest in entrepreneurs. And I want to make sure you get out of today, like how to help build your company, because that's what I've done for a lot of people, and I want to help all of you.
That's great. So let's dive a little bit more into your background, right? So entrepreneurship, education, investment. I think you also ran for president of the United States.
I did.
So why don't you take everyone through a quick kind of your quick bio first, and then we'll dive in.
I don't know if I want to do the whole bio, but my first business I started at the University of Virginia. I'm a UVA graduate, and I noticed that the cafeteria food was awful at UVA back in the 90s. So I started a little business to create a debit card meal plan at all the restaurants around grounds. If any of you went to UVA, it's called the Corner Meal Plan, or I should say it was called the Corner Meal Plan. I sold it 3 years after I built it. I built the whole debit card system myself with a friend named Jim Arena, and then sold it 3 years later, and 15 years later, the third owner closed it down. So I saw a business go all the way from the beginning to the end. Then I moved to the Silicon Valley and helped create a company with 2 other Berkeley grads that helped people get their first job out of college. And that's how I learned about venture capital. I raised $9 million in venture capital while we were out there. We were all in our 20s. We had zero idea what we were doing, and we barely made it. We sold the company for $9 million, and our investors got $1 back for every $1 that they invested. So it was a tie. I don't know, something like that. But then over the years, I've worked at Kaplan as a turnaround CEO. I've invested in companies like maybe you might know Credly or Presence Learning or some of the bigger ones in education technology, Moodle Rooms, Blackboard. Some of the ones now are Immersion, which is virtual reality for corporate training and for higher education. Socrate, which I should actually be wearing my lapel pin right now because Socrate's one of my favorite companies. It's going to revolutionize K-12 education. Socrate listens as a teacher teaches, and then it turns everything that they say into structured data. So it does attendance for them, it does behavior tracking, eventually it'll do special ed for them. Basically takes all the busy work. It's a real class assistant for teachers, and there's no recording, and that's taking off like wildfire. But that's a little bit of a background.
Well, that's a good segue.
And none of the president stuff. We'll get back to that.
Dabble into it for a second.
Yeah.
When we were even prepping for this, and we were talking about AI and how it impacts everything, on your website, when you ran for president in 2024, you actually had an AI function.
It's true, yeah.
Before it was cool, right? Like, so tell us a little bit about that. What did you kind of create and want people to understand? I
think AI has been cool for 25 years, so I might have been a little bit ahead of the game on that. But no, when I started running for president, I honestly knew I had very little chance of winning. I'm a Democrat by background, and I just felt like Joe Biden was too old and was not the right candidate to be running last year. And I thought, maybe there's like a tiny chance I could like break through and then other people would get into the race. And I did break through, but it was a little bit too late. In March, I won the American Samoa primary, and was the first person in 44 years to beat an incumbent president. But by March, Joe Biden had almost all the delegates he needed, and I missed my opportunity. But I did launch this AI on my website, partly because a lot of people volunteered who are friends of mine, and they said, I want to volunteer. Can I go door to door for you? And I was like, I feel like we're kind of past the door to door stage. Like, what's your superpower? I always say that as a CEO. And I started asking the volunteers, what's your superpower? And one kid said to me, well, I've been working with AI. Maybe I could do something for you with AI. And I was like, heck yes. Yes, you could. And so he built, and now it's kind of embarrassing. It is still out there. It's called palmerforpresident.us, and you click on the little button, and it's an AI version of me. We put the voice modulation in there, and it answers any question on any topic that you may want to ask about policy, about Israel and Gaza, balanced budget, gay rights, you name it, it's all there. And it's part of how I won in American Samoa, is that we directed all the people to the website, and they were asking all kinds, and it had answers about what I would do for American Samoa as well. And so that was part of why I won.
And the input was all your old speeches, policies,
commentaries. I loaded
so you fed your own language model.
I did.
And then you had it.
Exactly.
Oh, incredible.
Yeah.
So we were joking beforehand. I'm originally from Albania, and the Prime Minister of Albania just announced the first AI minister, right? And you ran with an AI platform.
I'll bet his is better looking than mine. It's really better.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that, right? Like, what is the trajectory and impact on actual public service and government, not only from like efficiency in operation of government, but even maybe larger stakes here?
Well, that's a tough one. Right now, our country's going through a pretty tumultuous period. I know everybody knows that. And in fact, I asked everybody what their politics were before we started this, and most people said they were apolitical. I think nobody can really remain apolitical too much longer. It's very important to be involved and speak up. And we do need to massively overhaul our government. One of my 3 pillars in my campaign was need to modernize government. And so actually, even though I'm opposed to a lot of the policies of Donald Trump, when Elon Musk came in there and started saying, hey, let's look at, what are these databases doing, and who are all these people that shouldn't be on the Social Security system anymore because they're over 100 years old? There's a lot of things in there that need massive improvement technologically, and I'm glad that some of those questions are being asked. And that was a big part of my campaign, is we need to totally upgrade the entire government. So
technology, AI.
AI has a real role to play there, but it's also could be a scary role if we become too authoritarian in how we manage things. We need to be smarter about how we regulate AI too, which we could get into if you want.
Yeah, well, I'd like to get into that, because even some of the comments that were posted here about fear and hype, and people are still trying to navigate what's the actual impact on their day-to-day lives, society at large, of AI.
Right.
So maybe talk a little bit about that, and then how you view it either as an opportunity, a threat, a concern, and where potential government regulation should come in.
Well, first of all, how many people in this room think that AI is the biggest disruption or change in your lifetime?
Yeah.
Okay, now in this room, it's like 3/4 of the room. But probably those of you that are watching the podcast might say, well, it's kind of barely affecting me. I'm kind of scared about it. And I used to work for Bill Gates at the Gates Foundation, and he has this quote that, the world changes a lot less within 2 years than everybody expects, but by 10 years, it's way more than everybody expects. And I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen with AI. Some of the things that are being done, I cannot keep up with it myself. I need like a Jason AI to read everything and then synthesize it for me, and I'm somebody who focuses on it for a living. So I do think it's going to it already is completely changing anything related to text, because it's so great at text. It's going to change molecular biology. It's going to change teaching and learning. It's going to change, and it's going to disrupt almost every field. It will disrupt every field, and it'll actually become part of everything that we do, just like electricity is. That's why it is a GPT, which is general purpose technology. That's what GPT stands for. GPTs are things like electricity, fire, writing is another example of a general purpose technology. There's probably 25 of these technologies since the beginning of humankind that have completely changed the way we live and operate as a species. And AI is like that, even though we're just at the beginning in a way.
So you've been active on Substack, writing and commentary. You've talked a little bit about the transformative impact of AI on education. I think you had a really successful post on that recently. Tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think, every 5 years or so, I write a big, long post about what's going to happen in education. And the last 2 times I said, the change is coming, but we're not quite here. The change is coming, we're not quite here. The change is here. It's going to be showing up this year in schools. There are so many, more than 80% of college students are using AI, not just a little bit, like all the time. And now it's also down in K-12, more than 50% of students are using it. Schools are trying to figure out, like, how do we deal with this change? It's like the calculator, but way more sped up. When the calculator was invented in the late 50s, early 60s, it took a long time for it to even get into industry and then get into schools. And I remember when I went to high school in the 80s, the teachers were like, you cannot use calculators for anything. And then when I was in college, I learned all the high school kids were using calculators, and it was even required for all the tests. And I thought, that's pretty crazy. That whole thing that took 40 years for the calculator happened within 3 years for AI. So it's really hard to predict where this is going to go, but the blog post, which I recommend you check out, my Substack, talks about the different ways it will transform education, and I feel like I need to update it every month because it keeps changing that fast.
So based on that speed, right? Like if you're a large corporation, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're somebody in this room, how do you keep up?
Well, you should try not to keep up with everything. 90% of AI companies will fail, just like all other companies, but find your use case, find your specific angle on AI. I very much believe, I don't know who said it first, but AI is not going to steal your job. A person who's good with AI is going to steal your job. So figure out how to do your job better with AI. That's the number one thing you should do. And if you're building a new company, every time you think you need to hire a person, try hiring AI to do it first. So almost every task that I come up with, or the people in our 9-person company come up with, we have kind of a rule. Could you do it first with AI? And try. And if it doesn't work, well, then you can hire a person for $15 an hour, $40 an hour, whatever, to do that work. But you got to actually try it first with AI.
So let's get back to the policy side of it. Regulation. How should government be thinking about this? And one of the things I want to kind of come back to on that is we're in Arlington, Northern Virginia. The member of Congress here is a guy named Don Beyer. And Congressman Beyer has been taking night classes at George Mason University in AI.
That's smart.
That's not every member of Congress, right? And I feel like watching those old Senate hearings with Mark Zuckerberg trying to explain what Facebook was, I feel like there's a bit of a learning curve.
You mean like the tubes and the whatever? So is government ready to even regulate? What should government's role be here? No, government is not ready to regulate. This is a tough question. I divide the world into a couple different avenues right now. Where safety should be deployed more stringently with AI is where AI is working in the physical world. So, for example, I do drive a Tesla. The AI in the Tesla and all other AI-powered cars should go through a more stringent set of safety tests that are upgraded for the age of AI. Anything involving the physical world, like if AI was being used in nuclear plants, no-brainer, that should go through way more testing than AI being used to do the temperature in your refrigerator. Where is the safety risk the highest? And we don't have something like that. We should immediately be assembling committees of experts who are actually advising the government on how to regulate AI in the real world. Now, in terms of putting a pause on things like Elon Musk was recommending a few years ago, no, that is not going to work. AI is here. AI is going to move fast enough that we can't, and nor should we, stop it, but we have to figure out ways to test it and release those test results to the public. And then if there is a risk, because eventually, and it hasn't happened publicly to the degree it eventually will, but at some point, sadly, 5 or more people will die because of AI. There will be an incident, and I hope it's not 5,000. It could easily be 5 people or it could be 5,000. A very large incident will happen, and it'll be because we haven't actually done the regulation to look for, like, where could 5 people die? What circumstances? We need to be ideating that like crazy. In fact, we should be asking the AI, tell me all the circumstances where 5 to 5,000 people could die if AI is not properly regulated. And in fact, we should put AI on that task ASAP.
Putting your investor hat on, you talk about 90% of companies might fail, kind of in the AI space. What do you look for companies as an investor, and more specifically as someone in AI?
All right, as an investor, there's kind of
because I guess that goes for job seekers too, right? Like if you're looking to pursue a career, if you're looking to invest, how are you going to cut through it?
It's a little different for each. Like as an investor, when I'm looking at companies, or any investors looking at companies, we're trying to see, could this grow to $100 million in valuation, $1 billion, which everybody knows is called a unicorn, 10 billion, 100 billion. We try to figure out what's the possible max size of this company. And at this point, I've done it enough, and most investors have done it enough, I can tell your company is going to max out at 5 million in revenue. Your company has a chance of becoming 500 million in revenue. And you should ask that of investors, like, where do we think it's going to max out and why? And even if we tell you that, don't believe us. Because every single time I've talked to an investor, they've said, oh, your company will never be bigger than X. And I'm like, I'm going to prove you wrong, and it's going to be worth 10X. And sometimes they're right, and sometimes I'm right. But you should always not just take that at face value. In terms of building your own skills, personally, I would say go look for a Series B company. These are companies that have actually made it through multiple phases of venture capital, and it's reduced the chance of failure. So a Series A company has about a 50% chance of failure. A Series B company has 20 to 30%, depending on the year. And those companies, if they succeed, often become very, very valuable companies. They become unicorns, et cetera. And if you go to a Series B company, usually right after they raise money, that is the best time to maximize your economic output, and then also kind of maximize the learning, because the company will grow from 200 employees to 2,000 employees. It's like a high growth moment that is a spectacular learning moment for people, and you get paid really well. There is also a 20-30% chance it will fail. Don't blame me. I told you up front, but there's a 70%, 80% chance it will succeed wildly, and you'll get to learn from the ride either way.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like to joke with AI that, well, you can't drink a cup of coffee, and then you pointed out some video where Dr. Phil was basically just through AI having conversations or something like that, right? Like what's the future of even conversations, entertainment, and
I mean, if anybody's seen the movie Her, we're living the movie Her right now. I think more people are going to have. Some people are saying that the AI is their top 10 friends now. You're kind of saying, ugh. But I think younger people, it might be okay, because you can't always reach your friend. You need somebody to listen to you. I mean, I don't know what it means for society, but I kind of feel like it was like when my dad was saying, like, you're not really talking to your friend when you're texting with them, or you're emailing with them. Like, I think I am, actually. I feel connected to them, Dad. And he's like, no, it's not real. Now he texts more than I do.
Yeah.
So funny. It's weird. It's weird.
You have another side project together. Let's talk a little bit about that. How you've been spending time on that front and.
Yeah, I do feel like a lonely voice. My goal there, so after I lost to Joe Biden and said I'm not running for president anymore, I did something I don't think any candidate has ever done.
And he decided not to run for president.
Yeah, eventually he decided that too. But I decided to endorse 8 young people who were Democrats running for Congress in their 20s and 30s, and then 8 Republicans who were running for Congress also in their 20s and 30s, and 2 independents who were endorsed by the Forward Party. And it's because I think it's really important in this day and age we just have bipartisan leadership and collaboration that gets the job done. No more of this, like, people on the fringe on either side just screaming at each other and all of us wanting to tune out politics. Let's get some real business people into the building, and not, Trump is a business person, but he's like, they got the wrong personality. We need like the collaborator business people who actually know how to work together and get stuff done. And, I do think that's going to come.
So as you think about your next kind of 4 or 5 years, are you being pulled more back to politics, more to education, more into AI. How do you see your next 5-10 years playing out of what you want to be focusing your energy and skill and
next 2 years is riding the AI wave and building the best possible education technology companies that I can. And then I'll see what happens.
Powered by AI.
Powered by AI, like Socrate is a great example, and the 8 companies I've invested in there. And then I'm going to see what happens in the next presidential cycle and also just politics generally. I am going to support probably 30 candidates that are running for office in 2026. Again, people in their 20s and 30s, again, Democrats and Republicans, and a few forward party people as well, because I think we need younger people who get technology, who understand, and this is maybe the most important thing, who understand capitalism is a force for good. However, there also needs to be some balance here where not everybody benefits from capitalism equally, but the key thing is we can figure that out. It doesn't have to be socialism versus hyper-capitalism. There's something in the middle called conscious capitalism that I'm a big believer in, and that I think actually is the future, and I have a whole policy on my website about that if you're curious.
Well, we'll go ask the AI.
Yeah, you can ask the AI too, yeah, exactly.
Just last question on that, but when you think about these candidates or you're advising them and thinking about it, do you have an AI lens? Are you pushing them on that? Are you asking them what their platforms are?
No, not really. I mostly look for young people who have some business experience, preferably entrepreneurial experience, and who want to and agree to work across the aisle. I make them sign a little pledge that says, I will work across the aisle as part of the Bipartisan Problem Solvers Caucus.
Sit down and have a cup of coffee.
Exactly. In fact, I'd love to get a lot of them onto they would love to get on your podcast. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Jason, we've been wanting to have this conversation for a while. We have a full house here, so I want to make sure we kind of pause ours, open it up to the audience. Chris, what you've created here is amazing. We're so grateful to AWS and the Skills Center for hosting us. Jason, amazing to have you on.
Great to have
Always
you.
Great to see you.
I know. Exactly.
For those tuning in, it's coffeewithken.com. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on YouTube, and keep in touch about the next upcoming sessions. Thank you.
Thanks.